It's cold, dark, and the snow is falling. Your feet are numb with fingers like icicles. You need a place to be warm. Your tummy rumbles as you try and remember the last time you ate. Loneliness sets in as you remember loved ones from the past. A car pulls over. You get in. You don't know who the person is. In desperation, you place your wet socks on the dashboard, praying that they will dry. Does this person have a place that you can go? Every hour is a struggle of survival. Is there anyone to help? This is the voice of youth homelessness and the voice of many youth across our nation. My life trajectory of homelessness began as a little girl at age 5. My family moved into the shelter system as we were fleeing an abusive relationship. Shortly after moving into the shelter system, I was brought into foster care. Foster care is where the Ministry of Children and Family Development becomes your mother and father. At age 13, it was determined that I would never return home and I would reside in foster care in Kamloops, BC. Foster care reinforced homelessness as a natural trajectory for my future. Respite homes taught me how to couch surf and sleep in strange places such as other kids' bedrooms. Transiency defined my experience as I learned how to tote all my belongings in garbage bags. Foster care taught me how to be homeless. I went through 28 different foster homes with none to call my own. I was having responses to the system and the trauma that I was experiencing, but the professionals didn't understand. The ministry responded by moving me again and again and again. This changed when I turned 19, as I aged out of foster care into homelessness and lived on the streets of Kamloops. When you age out, you lose all the financial and emotional support that the ministry has been providing for you your entire life. Imagine your 19th birthday and losing your parental support and not being able to go back for support or guidance as your life is just beginning. I had a strong desire to keep my head above water, and I was hired as a peer researcher. This provided me the opportunity to reconnect with 30 of my foster siblings. And what I discovered was shocking, and it broke my heart. 78% of them were experiencing homelessness as a result of aging out, and they were living together on the streets as a family. I advocated to this company that we needed to create housing for these youth, as surely they couldn't focus on post-secondary education without the solid foundation of a home. Unfortunately, this priority was not heard, and I felt disheartened. As I myself was going through the trauma of aging out, I desired that sense of belonging and family. I met an abusive man who ended up kicking in my door, which led to an eviction on the first day of snowfall. I joined my foster siblings on the street of Kamloops. My desire for social justice did not end there, and a group of us youth took a piece of cardboard and we wrote in felt pen, "Youth are aging out of foster care into homelessness, and you need to help." We all signed that piece of cardboard, and we taped that to the Ministry of Children and Family Development's door. Unfortunately, they heard too late, as my friend Samantha Paul, that helped lead this initiative, was found murdered. I was lucky, as I had the opportunity to find a home. The opening for this presentation was my experience when I was walking on the streets and a caregiver seen me and pulled over. She said, let's end this, and got me a hotel room. That was my first experience of housing since aging out of foster care, and it was the beginning of the journey where I learned how to stand in my truth to create change. This journey sounds very difficult and horrible, but I do not regret one moment or difficult time that I experienced, as it prepared me for my life purpose to ensure that no other young person has to experience homelessness in our community. Years later, I found this sense of purpose. I was working at a local nonprofit and began to identify all these youth that were experiencing homelessness and spending time outside of an adult building. I began having conversations with these youth, and what I discovered is that many of them had aged out of care or were fleeing the foster care system. Something shifted in me, and I realized what I had experienced was not an individual fault, but a system failure. I decided to take action, and I didn't know what I could do, but I knew I had to do something. I gathered a group of people together, and we met in an abandoned building, very fitting for youth homelessness. We began to talk about how we could create housing for these young people. Serendipitously, at the same time, the city of Kamloops had applied for a grant, and Kamloops was one of 2 communities chosen across Canada to receive funding for a youth homelessness action plan. The city had completed this plan and didn't want it to be a document that sat on the shelf gathering dust. They began joining us in the abandoned building, and something that should have probably failed was transformed into infinite possibilities. They asked us to become the steering committee behind the Away Home plan, and we agreed and became Away Home Kamloops. Today, this movement has grown to over 140 people from all sectors, including businesses, landlords, nonprofits, and young people. We have 6 action teams that are working on a continuum of addressing youth homelessness, from prevention to housing and supports. We are all brought together with the same desire to ensure that every youth has a way home. The national initiative recognized Kamloops' momentum towards ending youth homelessness. They asked to take our name and became Away Home Canada. Most recently, it's become an international phenomenon with Away Home America and Away Home Scotland, with the special recognition of our community taking action. Our most innovative program is the Kamloops Youth Housing First WrapForce. This is a centralized housing and supports intake system that ensures there is no wrong door for young people in our community. 19 different organizations partnered, and each identified one youth homelessness champion. The concept is a youth can walk into any door, say, "I'm homeless and I need help," and they'll be connected to the WrapForce. We all use the same consent and application form, so young people do not have to share their story over and over again. This has revolutionized the way that nonprofits work in our community, as youth no longer become connected to one singular organization, but are connected to the sector that wraps themselves around young people to help their transition out of homelessness. This system allowed our team to rapidly create housing. Within 3 months, our community created 14 new units of program housing. We have designated housing for Indigenous youth, youth that are young moms, youth aging out of care, and any young person experiencing housing insecurity. The business sector has partnered and are sponsoring year-long rental subsidies to support young people to transcend homelessness. The owner of Subway started this movement, and since we've had many other businesses follow suit, including Home Depot, Home Hardware, Boogie the Bridge, and many others. Our team knew that we had to look further upstream, and we wanted to prevent youth from ever even experiencing homelessness. We partnered with the Ministry of Children and Family Development, and we support young people through the Connects table, where youth are connected with a team of supports and long-term housing that will bridge that gap as they transition to independence. Our team focuses on helping young people to transcend homelessness by being connected to employment and education. We have 2 amazing employed youth advisors who are sharing their voice and creating community change and are the true leaders in our community. Thompson Rivers University has partnered and provides 5 bursaries a year to youth experiencing homelessness. One of our youth advisors is working on a peer navigation program that is supporting youth that were formerly homeless to be able to achieve a post-secondary degree. We are also bridging opportunities for employment and have partnered with the Home Builders Association that is creating trade mentorship opportunities for young people to achieve their dreams. The heart of A Way Home is Youth Against Youth Homelessness. This amazing group of youth are 12 young people with first voice experience that are providing peer mentorship to their friends and siblings that are coming out of homelessness. They are working on sharing their truth through a book called Pages of Hope that will share their lived experiences of homelessness to create change. These young people infuse all of A Way Home's work with the expertise of lived experience. Through this journey, I've had the honor of learning 4 important lessons about standing in your truth to end youth homelessness. Lesson number 1, find the silver lining. I strongly believe that the hardest moments in our life prepare us for our greatest life purpose. It is when we face that truth and find the silver lining in those experiences, we can mobilize our truth for change. As a homeless youth, I didn't think somebody could feel so much pain. Today, I am so thankful for every difficult experience I have ever had, as it prepared me for my life purpose. When you can find meaning and purpose in your difficult times, you will find the greatest joy that is possible for a human being to feel. I use the term first voices to describe when young people use their lived experiences to create change. I want you to imagine the most difficult experience you've ever had. And where is the silver lining in that experience? If you can find meaning and purpose in those experiences, you will find your greatest joy. Lesson number 2, innovate. Do what's never been done before. Step outside of the status quo and be brave enough to try new ideas and create change. It is okay to make mistakes, and it's part of the learning journey. Innovation is one of A Way Home's core values. We recognize that the existing interventions were not working and that we needed to do something different in order to end youth homelessness. An example of this is Kamloops was the first community to develop a youth homelessness count. The traditional adult point-in-time count was not capturing young people experiencing homelessness and was part of the reason this issue was hidden. Our team came up with a new methodology where we partnered with the school district, and we were able to identify and give voice to those young people who were struggling with housing insecurity. This gave us the information that we needed to push for change in our community. I want you to think of all the ideas that you have percolating and be brave enough to do what's never been done before. We all have the capacity to be trailblazers if we only give ourselves permission to innovate. Lesson number 3, be rooted in action. So often people spend so much time talking and planning about what they're going to do instead of actually doing it. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the more risks and reasons you will decide not to take action. What I have learned is to be constantly moving forward in the direction of your goals to create change. An example of this was the Safe Suites project with A Way Home. We had had a few preliminary conversations about developing zero-barrier housing for young people experiencing homelessness. I met a young person who was experiencing homelessness and had his shoes stolen every single night. As our community slept, this young person walked the perimeter of Kamloops all night long as he had nowhere to be safe. When I met this youth, I made the decision to take action. I knew he would have to wait 3 months for our Safe Suites pilot to be up and running, and those 3 months could be where a life was lost. I called my boss and I said, "We need to open the Safe Suites tonight," and she agreed. It was a rush to get that suite prepared, but I will never regret taking action, as I know that made a significant difference in the life of that young person that day. Another example of being rooted in action is the owner of Domino's made the decision to camp out in a cardboard box in December to raise awareness and funds for youth experiencing homelessness. 3 amazing city councilors joined him, young professionals, students, and even children joined him, rooted in action. Lesson number 4. In conclusion, I have learned that probabilities can be transformed into possibilities. I probably should be dead. I probably shouldn't have graduated high school, as only 49% of former youth in care achieve a grade 12. I probably shouldn't have a Bachelor of Social Work, as only 6% of former youth in care achieve this. I should probably still be living in poverty, homeless, and without a purpose. However, I have learned that probabilities can transform into possibilities. It is when you stand in your truth, you can transform these probabilities into the infinite world of possibilities. An example is, at a local level, I feel that we've done all that we can towards ending youth homelessness. A Way Home Kamloops set a strategic direction to help lead the development of a provincial plan to end youth homelessness. Our collaboration has spread all throughout BC, and we founded the BC Coalition to End Youth Homelessness. Our goal is to develop a provincial plan that would articulate the role of government ministries. For example, if the Ministry of Children and Family Development takes on the role of mom and dad, we need all the other ministries to act like aunts and uncles. This provincial plan will articulate policy changes and ensure that resources are provided to local communities so they have what they need to address youth homelessness. Nationally, I've had the honor of being appointed to the federal government's Advisory Committee on Homelessness and have been able to share my truth to create change at a national level. I'm currently in my Master's of Social Work, and I know that the possibilities for my future are endless. I want every youth in our nation to feel that they have the potential to transform their probabilities into possibilities. What are your possibilities And how can you support young people to transform their probabilities into infinite possibilities? I know that by standing in my truth, that together we will prevent, reduce, and end youth homelessness in our community, province, and nation. I stand rooted in action. Please stand with me.